disrespect rarely arrives in the form of fireworks. It begins quietly, almost invisibly, slipping into your life in ways that feel minor but are far more dangerous than they seem. A joke that lands a little too sharply, a message left unread for days, a colleague taking credit for something you did. All of these are small tests. They are not random. They are probes, assessing the limits of your tolerance. The body senses it first, a tightening in the chest, a sinking in the stomach, an instinctual awareness that something is not right. But the mind intervenes, rationalizes, and convinces you to move on. It's nothing, you tell yourself. I'm just overreacting. I'm taking the high road. The problem is, the high road is often the path to erosion. Each unchallenged slight, every swallowed irritation is a signal not to the offender but to yourself that your dignity is negotiable. You may think you are being patient, tolerant, or kind, but what you are really doing is training people how to treat you. Disrespect is not a single event. It is a process, a slow and relentless accumulation of small concessions that weaken your boundaries. Human beings are wired to detect hierarchy. Every interaction is a silent negotiation. Who holds power? Who will yield? Who is safe to manipulate? When someone interrupts your story, arrives late without explanation, or makes a subtly cutting comment, they are testing the limits of your territory. They want to know, will you bend or will you stand firm? The sad truth is that most people bend too quickly. They smile nervously, excuse the behavior, apologize for their own feelings, and move on as if nothing happened. Each moment of concession silently invites the next. Machiavelli observed that people respond primarily to two forces, love and fear. In modern life, fear is rarely about life and death. It is about consequences, access, and influence. When you fail to assert boundaries, you are essentially telling the world that they can cross you without consequence, that your presence, time, and feelings are cheap, and that your dignity is a soft currency to be spent at will. This is why disrespect escalates. The first act is always minor, almost invisible, but if left unchecked, it compounds. That lingering, sinking feeling in your gut is not mere discomfort. It is your subconscious registering the betrayal of your own integrity. You are the architect of the very environment that allows you to be diminished. To stop the cycle, you must first recognize it. You must admit that you are not being unlucky or overly sensitive. You are being ignored because you have not made it clear what is acceptable. Boundaries are not abstract concepts. They are signals that others read instinctively. If you do not signal them, you are allowing your value to be invisible, your presence negotiable, and your self-respect optional. The first step toward reclaiming control is awareness. Notice the moments when someone crosses a line and ask yourself, am I reacting or conceding? Am I protecting my presence or am I quietly giving it away? The truth is uncomfortable but empowering. If you continue to tolerate small violations, you are teaching the world how to treat you. And the moment you recognize this, the power begins to shift from those who disrespect you to the one who refuses to be disrespected. You. Most people approach disrespect as if it were a personal misunderstanding, something to be explained, apologized for, or emotionally managed. They respond with anger, justifications, or attempts to clarify, believing that their truth alone is enough to restore balance. But the brutal reality is that disrespect is not about facts, feelings, or fairness. It is a power game. When someone tests you, they are not seeking reconciliation. They are assessing dominance. They want a reaction. And any reaction, anger, argument, or apology is a surrender of your control. It confirms their influence. Your emotional response becomes their victory. The first step in regaining power is to stop reacting the way others expect. Human interaction is often a script. The aggressor delivers the line, the target reacts, and the dynamic resets in favor of the aggressor. Break the script. Step out of the predictable loop. Respond not with words, not with emotion, but with presence. Hold your gaze. Let silence fill the space. Let the words hang. Do not smile, do not scowl, do not explain. Just observe. This is not avoidance. It is strategy. Silence, when wielded intentionally, is a weapon. It reflects the intention back to the sender and forces them into discomfort. They are expecting your energy, your reaction. When they do not get it, they are destabilized. They fidget, stumble over words, and scramble to regain control. This is the subtle art of turning aggression into impotence. Another layer to this strategy is agreement. Often, people insult or criticize as a means of eliciting resistance. When you remove the resistance, the insult loses power. If someone says, "You're lazy," respond with calm acknowledgement. Sometimes, if they say, "You're weird," reply, "Absolutely." This technique, often called fogging, is a deliberate act of non-engagement that drains the aggressor's energy. The insult passes through you like mist, leaving no impact. They may continue expecting a spark, but the spark never comes. You control the environment by refusing to participate in their game. Underlying this is the recognition of motive. Most disrespect is rooted in insecurity, not strength. Only those whose status feels threatened need to elevate themselves by diminishing others. When you see this clearly, insults cease to feel personal. They are mechanical, predictable, almost trivial. This mental shift is transformative. You stop asking, "What is wrong with me?" and begin analyzing, what are they trying to protect? What is their fear? You move from being a participant in their story to an observer, a strategist, a master of the interaction. Strategic non-reaction also requires selectivity. You cannot engage every slight or challenge every offense. Doing so diminishes your value and exhausts your energy. Power is concentrated, not scattered. By choosing the moments where intervention is necessary, you magnify their effect. Not all battles are yours to fight, but the ones you choose to enter, you must enter fully, with clarity and calm authority. Finally, silence and agreement are more than defensive tools. They are offensive in their own way. They unsettle the aggressor, expose the manipulator, and shift the hierarchy in your favor. They signal that your emotional currency is not available for theft. They communicate without words that your boundaries are non-negotiable and your presence cannot be easily exploited. In essence, the true victory over disrespect is achieved not through confrontation or argument, but through the disciplined mastery of non-reaction and selective engagement. You take the power away from those who attempt to take it from you, and in doing so, you reclaim not just respect, but control over your environment, your emotions, and ultimately, your life. Silence and strategic agreement are powerful, but they're not always enough. Some individuals test boundaries repeatedly, interpreting patience as weakness. When the small nudges and subtle provocations escalate, the situation requires more than observation. You must introduce controlled consequence. Most people fail here because they confuse aggression with strength. They shout, threaten, or make scenes, believing that volume equals power. It does not. True authority is quiet, deliberate, and precise. It is a surgical strike, not a tantrum. Controlled consequence begins with action, not words. Threats are meaningless. They are easily ignored, forgotten, or countered. The moment you say, "If you do that again, I will leave," you've already weakened your position. True power is in execution. When someone consistently interrupts you, you do not argue, you stop engaging. You remove your attention. You withdraw your presence. When someone disrespects your time, you do not complain. You simply stop giving it freely. Action, not explanation, is the language of authority. Absence is one of the most potent tools available. People value what they can lose. Scarcity creates weight. When your presence is guaranteed, your influence diminishes. When it is conditional, it becomes precious. By stepping back, you allow the other person to confront their behavior without you needing to confront them. This is not manipulation in a petty sense, it is natural consequence. You are recalibrating the relationship, asserting your boundaries, and reclaiming your energy. But withdrawal must be intentional and controlled. Politeness, neutrality, and distance are essential. You do not withdraw to punish. You withdraw to protect your center. There is a necessary coldness here, a detachment that forces others to recognize that your warmth is not a given. It is earned. People will adjust when they feel the loss of access, and in that adjustment, the balance of power returns to you. Fear of abandonment is the trap most people fall into. They cling to relationships, professional networks, and social connections that erode their self-respect because the alternative, the void, feels unbearable. But this is precisely why you must cultivate independence, emotional, financial, and psychological. When you are not dependent on the validation or approval of any single person, disrespect loses its leverage. You can walk away without collapse, without apology, without hesitation. That ability is your ultimate authority. Building this independence transforms your interactions. The way you speak, move, and engage communicates boundaries without a single word. Presence becomes your first defense. Withdrawal becomes your countermeasure. You are no longer negotiating respect. You are embodying it. In this space, you control the environment, your energy, and your influence. You do not react to every slight, but the ones you do act upon carry weight. You have become selective, deliberate, and untouchable. Controlled consequence, strategic withdrawal, and the cultivation of independence form the foundation of personal sovereignty. You no longer ask for respect. You structure the world in such a way that disrespect becomes costly and ineffective. And the moment you internalize this, you realize that power does not require aggression. It requires consistency, clarity, and the disciplined refusal to surrender what is inherently yours. External strategies are only half the battle. True mastery begins within. The world treats you as you subconsciously allow. If you tolerate disrespect, if you compromise your boundaries, if you abandon your own principles, others will reflect that weakness back to you. This is not punishment, it is natural law. To become untouchable, you must first command authority over yourself. The foundation of this is self-respect. Every promise you keep to yourself, every commitment honored, every act of discipline lays another brick in the inner citadel. This is where strength is born. Your inner world broadcasts outward. Posture, tone, micro-expressions, they all convey whether you are anchored or adrift. The weak version of yourself signals availability for exploitation. The disciplined version communicates that you are a force, a presence not to be trifled with. Self-respect is not vanity. It is your armor. It repels opportunists and attracts those capable of engaging with you on equal terms. People instinctively sense authenticity and strength. When you respect yourself, you require no external validation, and disrespect becomes jarring, unnatural, and intolerable. This is also where the shadow comes into play. Carl Jung described the shadow as the repressed, often dark side of our personality. The aggression, selfishness, and capacity for calculated violence that society teaches us to suppress. A harmless man is not a virtuous man, he's a weak one. True virtue emerges from control, not denial. When you integrate your shadow, you acknowledge your capacity for harm and dominance, but you choose restraint. You hold the sword without swinging it. Your power lies in the knowledge that you could act destructively if provoked, but you do not. Others sense this potential. They see the hilt even if the blade remains sheathed. Inner mastery transforms your relationship with disrespect. When someone insults you, manipulates you, or tests your boundaries, it no longer hits your core. You recognize it as projection, a symptom of their weakness, fear, or unresolved trauma. Their chaos passes through you without infection. You are no longer a participant in their story. You are the observer. This shift from reactive to analytical is the essence of sovereignty. You respond with calm authority, measured presence, and selective engagement. You do not fight every battle, but when you do, it is decisive, controlled, and effective. The culmination of this inner work is freedom. A free person cannot be demeaned, bribed, or coerced. They carry their own gravity, and their existence sets the boundaries. Respect is no longer requested. It is an automatic consequence of proximity to someone who is unshakable. Your posture, your absence, your energy all serve as silent declarations that your dignity is absolute. When you internalize this, the world's attempts at disrespect lose relevance. They may never stop, but you are no longer affected. You become the eye of the storm, still, centered, unmovable. This is the ultimate victory, not over others, but over yourself. By mastering silence, strategy, consequence, independence, and self-respect, you become a figure no one can diminish. You are the lion and the fox, the ruler of both your inner kingdom and the external arena. The chaos of the world spins around you, yet you remain sovereign. You do not need to demand respect or fear its absence. It exists naturally, because you exist firmly, decisively, and without compromise. The only question left is whether you are willing to do the work to face your own weaknesses, confront your fears, and build the inner fortress that ensures you will never be disrespected again.